Have you ever noticed something strange about life? The more you chase something, the further it seems to run. The harder you try to force an outcome, the more resistance you feel. You push, you plan, you stress, you overthink. And somehow, what you want feels like it slips just beyond your reach. Why is that? Why does it feel like some people barely try, yet doors open for them? Opportunities flow toward them. The right people meet them at the right time. Things seem to fall into place almost effortlessly. Meanwhile, others exhaust themselves trying to control every detail and still feel stuck. Is it luck? Is it privilege? Or is there something deeper happening beneath the surface? Here is the truth most people never stop to consider. Calm is not weakness. Calm is alignment. We have been conditioned to believe that intensity equals commitment, that pressure equals productivity, that worry proves we care. But what if that is the illusion? What if forcing life is actually the very thing pushing it away? From an esoteric perspective, reality does not simply respond to what you say you want. It responds to the state you are being in. Your inner world broadcasts a signal long before your words ever do. When you chase from anxiety, you are silently declaring lack. When you obsess, you are announcing fear. When you panic about timing, you are vibrating distrust. And here is the deeper insight. The universe does not respond to desperation. It responds to frequency. Desperation carries the frequency of, I don't have. Calm carries the frequency of, it is unfolding. Desperation tightens. Calm opens. Desperation grasps. Calm allows. And in the subtle architecture of existence, openness attracts. Tightness repels. The illusion of forcing life is rooted in fear. The fear that if you do not control everything, everything will fall apart. But what if control is not power? What if true power is alignment? There is a profound difference between action taken from panic and action taken from peace. The outside movement may look the same, but the internal state, the energetic signature, is completely different. One says, I must make this happen or I am unsafe. The other says, I am safe, I will act and allow. And that difference changes everything. So before we go any further, pause and reflect. Are you moving from calm certainty? Or are you moving from silent fear? Because the journey to receiving what you desire does not begin with chasing harder. It begins with becoming still enough to realize you were never meant to force life. You were meant to align with it. There is an ancient principle found across mystical traditions, spiritual psychology, and esoteric philosophy. Your outer world mirrors your inner state. Not sometimes, not symbolically, but consistently. What you experience externally is often a reflection of what you are embodying internally. This does not mean you consciously choose every event. It means your dominant emotional posture shapes how life arranges itself around you. Your inner state is not passive, it is creative. It is a silent architect. When you live in anxiety, you may think you are being responsible. You may believe you are preparing, protecting, preventing failure. But energetically, anxiety carries a message. Anxiety signals lack. It whispers, I don't have. I might lose. It's not working. What if this falls apart? What if I am not enough? Even if you never say those words out loud, your nervous system broadcasts them, and the world responds to that broadcast. Restlessness is a declaration of scarcity. It is an internal argument with reality. When you constantly check for results, you affirm absence. When you obsess over timing, you affirm delay. When you fear loss, you rehearse it emotionally. The esoteric law of inner state teaches that life does not simply respond to your desires. It responds to your dominant vibration. If your dominant vibration is tension, you will experience tension in outcomes. If your dominant vibration is fear, you will interpret events through fear. But now consider the opposite. What does calm communicate? Calm says, it is already unfolding. I am aligned. I trust the process. What is mine cannot miss me. Calm is not denial. Calm is not pretending everything is perfect. Calm is sufficiency. It is the deep knowing that you are not incomplete without the thing you desire. When you are calm, you are no longer chasing from emptiness. You are moving from wholeness, and wholeness attracts differently. Notice something subtle. When you are calm, your decisions improve. Your perception sharpens. You recognize opportunities you would have missed in panic. You stop reacting impulsively. In anxiety, the mind narrows. In calm, awareness expands. Calm is trust embodied. It is the internal statement, I am safe even while waiting. I am steady even while becoming. I am enough even before it arrives. And here is the paradox most people miss. The moment you no longer feel incomplete without something is often the moment it moves closer to you, because you are no longer resisting its absence. You are no longer screaming energetically, "Why isn't it here yet?" Instead, you are whispering, "I know it is aligning." Your outer world mirrors this shift, not magically, but naturally. So the question becomes, what is your dominant inner sentence right now? Is it, "It's not working," or is it, "It is unfolding"? That difference, though invisible, shapes everything that follows. Now we arrive at the paradox that frustrates so many people. The more you want something, the more you can accidentally push it away. This sounds unfair at first, illogical even. If desire fuels movement, shouldn't stronger desire produce faster results? Not always, because there is a difference between clear intention and desperate attachment. Attachment creates resistance, and resistance delays outcomes. When you become emotionally dependent on a specific result, your entire nervous system tightens around it. You begin monitoring it, forcing it, trying to accelerate it, controlling variables obsessively. And that tightening sends a powerful signal. It says, "This must happen for me to feel okay." That is not confidence. That is fear in disguise. Imagine this simple metaphor. Clench your fist tightly. Feel the tension, the contraction, the strain. Now imagine trying to receive something while your hand is clenched shut. Nothing can enter. Now slowly open your palm. There is space. There is ease. There is receptivity. Life moves toward open palms. When you grip tightly, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you create friction, and friction slows flow. The universe flows toward relaxed certainty, not tight control. Relaxed certainty is quiet. It does not need to prove. It does not need to rush. It does not need constant reassurance. It simply moves with trust. But desperation carries a different frequency. Fear-based wanting says, "If this doesn't happen, I will fall apart. If I don't get this now, I am behind. If I lose this, I lose my identity." This kind of wanting is heavy. It carries urgency, it carries scarcity, it carries subtle panic. And that panic clouds perception. You start chasing people who are pulling away. You make decisions from insecurity. You accept less than you deserve because you fear losing everything. Then there is ego-driven forcing. The ego does not just want the outcome. It wants control over the outcome. It wants the timing. It wants the recognition. It wants the credit. It wants proof that it is powerful. So it pushes, it manipulates. It strategizes obsessively, it compares itself constantly, but forcing life is like swimming upstream in a river that is already flowing in your favor. You exhaust yourself unnecessarily. Underneath both fear-based wanting and ego-driven forcing lies something subtle, the energy of lack. Lack is not about your bank account or relationship status. It is an internal posture. It is the feeling, I am incomplete without this. I am behind. I am not enough yet. When lack dominates your inner state, even success feels fragile. Even progress feels insufficient. You cannot enjoy the journey because you are fixated on arrival. And here is the quiet truth. When you operate from lack, you interpret neutral events as threats. Delays feel like rejection. Silence feels like failure. Redirection feels like punishment. But when you shift into relaxed certainty, those same events feel like alignment. A delay becomes preparation. A silence becomes clarity. A redirection becomes protection. Desperation blocks manifestation not because desire is wrong, but because desperation contracts the very field through which things arrive. When you relax internally, you are not giving up. You are allowing space. Space for timing, space for wisdom, space for alignment. Open palm, not clenched fist. Because what is truly aligned with you does not need to be chased with panic. It needs to be met with readiness. And readiness is calm. When people hear the phrase, "Stay calm and let the universe deliver," they often misunderstand it. They imagine doing nothing, waiting passively, avoiding responsibility. But this teaching is not laziness. It is not passivity. It is precision. To let the universe deliver does not mean you stop acting. It means you stop acting from emotional chaos. There is a profound difference. You can take the same action from panic or from peace. You can pursue the same goal from fear or from clarity. The outside behavior may look identical, but the inner architecture is completely different. To let the universe deliver means act without emotional chaos, move without inner panic, desire without obsession. It means you still apply effort, but the effort is clean. It is not contaminated by anxiety. It is not fueled by insecurity. You do what must be done. You show up, you prepare, you improve, but you do not emotionally collapse if timing shifts. Now let's break this down into 3 esoteric layers: intention, alignment, detachment. First, intention. Intention is clarity of desire. It is knowing what you want and why you want it. Not from comparison, not from ego validation, but from genuine resonance. Intention is the seed. Without intention, there is no direction. But intention alone is not enough. Second, alignment. Alignment is becoming internally congruent with what you seek. If you desire peace but live in constant mental warfare, you are misaligned. If you desire abundance but think in scarcity every day, you are misaligned. If you desire love but operate from fear and mistrust, you are misaligned. Alignment asks a deeper question. Are you emotionally prepared for what you are asking for? Are your habits, beliefs, and inner state compatible with the life you desire? When intention and alignment meet, momentum begins. But there is a final layer, and this is where most people struggle: detachment. Detachment does not mean you do not care. It does not mean you suppress desire. It does not mean you pretend you do not want something. Detachment means your identity is not chained to the outcome. It means you can desire something deeply while remaining emotionally stable without it. It means you trust that what is meant for you will not bypass you, and what bypasses you was never aligned. Detachment is emotional sovereignty. Indifference says, "I don't care." Detachment says, "I care, but I am not controlled." Indifference is cold. Detachment is calm. Indifference closes the heart. Detachment keeps it open, without fear. When you operate from intention, alignment, and detachment simultaneously, something powerful happens. You act with focus, you prepare with discipline, you show up with confidence, but you do not cling. You allow timing to breathe. And in that breathing space, life organizes itself in ways control never could. Letting the universe deliver means you trust that there are forces beyond your immediate perception arranging details you cannot see. It means you stop micromanaging reality. It means you release the illusion that tension accelerates destiny. You plant the seed. You nourish the soil. You position yourself in sunlight. But you do not dig up the ground every day to check if it's growing. That is trust. That is spiritual maturity. That is power without panic. And from that state, life begins to respond differently. There is something the modern world rarely encourages: stillness. We are taught to stay busy, to keep moving, to fill every quiet moment with distraction, stimulation, or urgency. But beneath the noise of constant activity lies a powerful truth. Stillness sharpens intuition. Noise distorts guidance. When the mind is constantly rushing, reacting, and worrying, it becomes impossible to hear the subtle signals that life is always sending. Opportunities appear, but we miss them. Warnings arise, but we ignore them. Insights surface, but they are drowned out by mental chaos. A restless mind is like turbulent water. When water is disturbed, you cannot see through it. The surface is scattered, fragmented, unclear. But when water becomes still, everything beneath it becomes visible. The same principle applies to the mind. When you are calm, your perception sharpens. You begin to notice patterns others overlook. You hear the quiet inner voice that says, "This is right." Or sometimes, "Something here is not aligned." This voice is intuition. And intuition does not shout. It whispers, which is why stillness is essential. When calm, something remarkable begins to happen. First, you make better decisions. Not because you suddenly become smarter, but because you stop reacting impulsively. You allow information to settle. You see the situation from multiple angles. Clarity replaces urgency. Second, you begin to recognize opportunities. Many opportunities do not arrive loudly. They appear quietly, disguised as small moments, simple conversations, or subtle invitations. But when the mind is frantic, it is too distracted to notice them. Calm attention makes you perceptive. You begin to see doors that were always there. And third, you stop sabotaging timing. One of the greatest mistakes people make is interfering with the natural rhythm of events. They push too soon. They speak too quickly. They abandon the process too early. But when you are calm, patience becomes natural. You sense when to move and when to wait. You sense when something is ripening and when it is not yet ready. This is not hesitation. This is wisdom. And that brings us to a powerful truth. Calm is spiritual intelligence. It is the ability to remain centered while the world rushes. It is the discipline to pause before reacting. It is the awareness that life unfolds through timing as much as through effort. Stillness is not emptiness. It is awareness at rest. And from that place of rest, guidance becomes visible. Decisions become clearer. Paths become easier to recognize. And life begins to move with a rhythm that no amount of panic could ever create. When the mind is still, you do not just think better. You see better. And sometimes, seeing clearly is the most powerful action you can take. There is a truth most people resist. Not everything that is delayed is denied. Sometimes delay is protection. Sometimes redirection is preparation. We often measure life by immediate results. If something does not happen when we expect it to, we label it failure. We call it rejection. We call it loss. But what if we are misreading the situation? Pause for a moment and reflect. What if what didn't happen was saving you? What if the opportunity that collapsed would have drained you? What if the relationship that ended would have limited your growth? What if the door that refused to open was blocking a path you were not meant to walk? We assume that speed equals success, but in the esoteric understanding of life, timing is intelligence. There are two timelines operating at once, the ego timeline and the universal timeline. The ego timeline says, "I want it now. It should have happened already. I am behind. Others are ahead." The ego measures progress through comparison and urgency. It operates from impatience. It believes control equals security. But the universal timeline moves differently. It sees connections you cannot see. It coordinates events beyond your awareness. It aligns people, places, and conditions in ways your mind cannot calculate. The ego sees one step ahead. The universe sees the entire terrain. And this is where trust becomes essential. Impatience is often a subtle form of distrust. When we become restless, what we are really saying is, "I don't believe it's working. I don't believe it's unfolding. I don't believe I am being guided." But trust says something different. Trust says, "If it is mine, it cannot miss me. If it is delayed, there is a reason. If it shifts, I am being redirected." Sometimes what feels like stagnation is actually stabilization. Sometimes what feels like rejection is repositioning. You may be developing skills you will soon need. You may be building resilience required for the next level. You may be being prepared for a responsibility you once prayed for. Divine timing is not random. It is precise. It does not rush. It does not panic. It does not operate from fear. It operates from readiness. A fruit picked too early is bitter. A fruit picked at the right moment is nourishing. The same principle applies to life. You can force outcomes prematurely, but forced timing often produces fragile results. When you trust divine timing, something inside you softens. You stop racing invisible clocks. You stop measuring your journey against someone else's path. You begin to understand that delay is not punishment. It is calibration. It is refinement. It is alignment unfolding at a level you may not yet perceive. And when the moment finally arrives, when the door opens, when the connection forms, when the breakthrough manifests, you will realize nothing was late. Everything was layered. Everything was preparing you, and what felt like waiting was actually becoming. There is a state of being that changes everything. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not aggressive. It is quiet confidence, relaxed certainty. This is the energy of someone who understands that life is not something to wrestle into submission, but something to align with. So what does it actually look like to live from relaxed certainty? It looks like this. You work, but without anxiety. You still wake up early. You still improve your skills. You still pursue your goals. But the work is no longer fueled by panic. It is fueled by purpose. You are not working because you are afraid of being nothing. You are working because you are becoming something. There is a difference. Anxiety-driven effort feels heavy. Aligned effort feels clean. When you live from relaxed certainty, you plan, but without fear. You think ahead. You organize. You prepare. But you do not obsess over every possible negative outcome. You understand that planning is your responsibility, but controlling every variable is not. You build your structure, and then you allow life to breathe within it. You hope, but without attachment. You desire growth, you desire connection, you desire success, but your emotional stability is not chained to immediate results. If something shifts, you adjust without collapsing. If something delays, you remain centered without spiraling. Why? Because your identity has shifted. The energy changes from, I need this to happen, to, I am becoming the person who naturally attracts this. This is powerful. When you need something desperately, you position yourself beneath it. You make it your source of validation. You make it the condition for your peace. But when you focus on becoming, everything reverses. You raise your standard internally. You elevate your habits. You refine your mindset. You strengthen your character. And as you evolve, what you once chased begins to recognize you. Relaxed certainty is not arrogance. It is grounded self-trust. It is knowing that if something does not arrive, you will still be whole. It is understanding that your growth is the real manifestation. Because when you become disciplined, opportunities respect you. When you become emotionally stable, relationships stabilize around you. When you become clear, confusion leaves your environment. Relaxed certainty says, I am building myself daily. I am aligned with my path. What is meant for me is responding to who I am becoming. There is no rush in this energy. There is no desperation. There is quiet progression. And from this state, something subtle happens. You stop chasing outcomes, and you start embodying the frequency of them. You stop asking, when will it come? And you begin affirming, I am prepared when it does. That is the shift. That is power without tension. That is movement without panic. That is living in such a way that when life delivers, you are ready to receive it calmly. Now, slow down with me for a moment. Let your breathing soften. Let the pace of your thoughts gently settle. After everything we've explored, the chasing, the forcing, the aligning, the trusting, I want you to imagine something simple. Imagine releasing your tight grip. That invisible tension you've been holding around your dreams, around your timelines, around how things should be unfolding. Just loosen it. Imagine opening your hand. Feel what that does to your body. Imagine breathing deeply, not the shallow breath of urgency, but a full, steady breath that reaches your chest and settles your nervous system. Inhale slowly and exhale fully. Again. In that breath, there is no desperation. There is no comparison. There is no fear of missing out. There is only presence. Now imagine trusting, truly trusting, that what is yours cannot miss you, not because you force it, not because you chase it, but because you are aligning with it. What is meant for you does not require panic. What is meant for you does not require self-betrayal. What is meant for you does not demand that you abandon your peace to receive it. If something passes you by, let it. If something delays, let it. If something redirects you, let it. Because sometimes the very thing you are trying to hold on to is the thing preventing your next level. And sometimes the pause you are resisting is the space where you are being prepared. Remember this, the universe is not withholding from you. It is aligning you, aligning your character, aligning your awareness, aligning your timing. So that when what you desire finally arrives, you are not frantic, you are not unstable, you are not unprepared, you are ready, calm, grounded, open-handed, and in that state, receiving feels natural. So tonight or today, wherever you are, choose calm, choose trust, choose relaxed certainty, and let life meet you there.